Om Sairam to all the Sai devotees. By the immense grace of Shri Sainath Maharaj, let us all now heed to the biography of great apostle of Shri Sai Baba, Pujyashri Narasimha Swamiji, narrated in the book As the Flower Sheds Its Fragrance by DR.G.R. Vijayakumar. Chapter 14. Baba himself favors the movement. The task of collecting facts about Sai Baba was by no means easy. While not much information was readily available, it was difficult to find unbiased sources of information. As a rule, as Narasimha Swamiji writes at page 97 of his book, The Sage of Sakori, devotees are not the best observers of the powers and doings of their gurus from the chronicler's viewpoint. Their cordiality, love of exaggeration, oversensitiveness in trying to avoid anything like strict examination of seeing miracles and mysteries, and usual want of the scientific attitude of training account for the unreliability of the testimony. After statements had been obtained from devotees and others, there arose the further difficulty of removing the grain from the chaff, or sifting and arranging all the mass of evidence collected, and of presenting what, after enquiry and investigations, could be accepted as true and beyond reasonable doubt. Those who have read Narasimha Swamiji's biographies of Ramana Maharishi, Upasani Maharaj, and Sai Baba, and his accounts of the numerous devotees of Sai Baba, can only marvel at the amount of trouble Narasimha Swamiji must have taken in collecting and processing the information and producing the final narration strictly in accordance with the norms of scientific and objective inquiry. Only one blessed with divine grace could have summoned to his aid the enormous patience, perseverance, and faith without which the task undertaken would not have become an accomplished fact. Narasimha Swamiji himself has narrated as follows. For collecting experience of devotees who were directly blessed by Sai Baba, I received many invitations. On one such assignment, I went to Pune and was introduced to the Rasanis. As I was taking down notes of their experiences, Sri Narayan Purushottam Avasthi, son of Justice Sri P. R. Avasthi of Gwalior, came in and took me to his father, who was a great devotee of Sai Baba. The moment he learnt of my mission, Justice Sri P. R. Avasthi, the sincere soul that he is, was overjoyed and treated me as he would treat an old and dear friend. He placed himself and his influence entirely at my disposal. He introduced me to about 60 devotees of Sai Baba who had personal experiences of Sai Baba's greatness. Most of these devotees were ignorant of English and could speak only in Marathi, which was unfamiliar to me at the time. Justice Sri Avasthi's knowledge of Marathi and English was of great service to me, as his influence and zeal to serve the cause of devotion to Baba in collecting, editing, and publishing information about Baba. From the very beginning, I was determined to collect, test, and sift such materials to arrange them on their strength, that is, on their inherent reliability and credibility, and complete a biography of Baba that would benefit earnest souls all over India, if not also beyond. For many months, I was engaged in this work with the invaluable help of Justice Sri Avasthi, who interpreted to me Hemant Pant's Shri Sai Satcharitra, Shri Sai Leela Masik, and other Marathi publications on Sai Baba. He was a great help to me in this way for 1 year or so vigorously that at the end of that period, I found that I could read and translate the Marathi book myself without his help, with occasional reference to a dictionary. This itself was proof of Sai Baba's grace flowing towards me. But fresh evidence of his grace became manifest off and on the course of this work. Spiritual experiences, especially the sadhaka's experiences with his guru or with God, are so intensely personal and unique to him, touch such inner depths of his soul, and are so intimate that the spiritual experiences, are not to be communicated to anybody, much less to strangers. But as it happened, barring a few, every one of Baba's devotees whom we approached was very soon impelled to unlock the portals of his heart and let us into his secret experiences. A public prosecutor who was an intimate friend of Justice Sri Avasthi began within a few minutes of his introduction to me to unburden himself and relate his innermost experiences, disclosing facts which he had not till then revealed even to his best friend Justice Sri Avasthi. I typed out these statements and left the bunch of papers with my friend Sri G.B. Dattar, an advocate at Thane. When I was at Pune, Sri Dattar intimated to me that the bunch of papers I had left with him was lost and could not be found in spite of his best efforts. As I had no copies of these statements, their loss would prove a very serious handicap to the progress of my work. Full of faith in Sai Baba and praying to him for their recovery, I immediately went to Thane. On reaching Sri Dattar's house, I went to his table on which I had placed the papers. In a minute or two, I placed my hand on a bundle among his legal papers, and this turned out to be the missing bunch. More than one devotee warned me against accepting bogus devotees and faked experiences, and asked me how I, a stranger to men, manners, and language of Maharashtra, hoped to ensure the purity and reliability of the information I received. I knew one and only device. Sai Baba was my guide, and he would not allow humbug to pass into my sacred collection. Least in 2 cases, I received strange and unexpected warnings and revelations indication what I should reject. Some statements were thus wholly rejected and some in part. It was quite obvious to me, as also to my Mumbai friends, that Sai Baba was favoring the publication by me of his biography and was removing the obstacles thereto step by step. Collecting about 15 statements, I began publishing parts of them in English in the columns of the Sunday Times, Madras in 1937. This account appeared in 30 or 40 issues of that journal. As the journal had a circulation of 20,000, the initial work of creating among the devout public all over India an interest in Sai Baba got off to a very good start. This publicity had a further good result. A highly placed friend remarked to me that these experiences by themselves produced a very unfavorable impression because they made Baba look like sort of a juggler with rare powers rather than a great soul. When I replied, "What about Sri Krishna's miracles?" he said, "Oh, but they are part of Sri Krishna's nature." "Exactly," I retorted. "So are the miracles of Baba. or part of Baba's nature. That's what is left out of your articles, my friend pointed out. My friend was right. He is pure and holy person, not afflicted with jealousy or hatred of saints other than his own guru. He represents a group that, in its desire to stress metaphysical and ultimate truths, is apt to underrate the importance of miracles to those who are just beginning their spiritual life. So, I felt that the entire defect was that I was producing the separate bricks lent to me by each devotee in the shape of his experience. Hardly any of these devotees had a conception of what the edifice was into which his brick had to be fitted. Hardly any of them knew the real nature of Baba. So, I appealed to Baba himself, much as Sri Ramakrishna complained to Kali Mata that a learned Pandit should represent her as a tamasic deity. I felt an inner warning that I should abandon thinking in English and in terms of newspaper articles, and that I should try to write out a reliable but orthodox biography of the saint in my own mother tongue. As I began that task, even in the earlier chapters, Baba's nature, his powers, their nature, his guru, and what his guru did for him, all these came up for consideration. And I discovered passages in Baba's sayings, that is, utterances and discourses, which, read with passages from the scriptures, showed how Baba's guru was saturated with divinity, how indeed that guru was God himself, how that guru God's self was poured, superimposed upon Baba, leading to Baba's merger in the divine and the consequent manifestation of miraculous powers. Baba was taught, and what Baba taught or conveyed by means of radiation or unseen influence came to me in flashes to fill up the picture of Baba which I was trying to draw. For the first time, so far as I knew, a clearly intelligible picture of Baba's nature, his powers, and the course of his life materialized and were presented by me in Introduction to Sai Baba. The first edition of this was published in November 1939, and within 11 months, a third edition was published and rapidly circulated. The experiences of the devotees, as narrated by them, have also been published as parts 1 and 2 in support of much that is contained in the introduction of Sai Baba. This introduction to Sai Baba was later rendered into all the languages of the South: Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, and Telugu. These facts are clear evidence that Sai Baba was in favor of the spread of the Sai Bhakti movement. One striking fact supporting the above conclusion is that thousands upon thousands of people became devotees of Baba in the South within the space of a few months. Meetings were held where aratis were conducted and a few words about Sai Baba were said. Baba's support of the movement can be seen only by the fact that many people from all parts of the country who became his devotees have had several experiences of their own which they communicated to me. These have been published under the title Devotees' Experiences. Dear Sai Bandhus, we shall now close the 14th chapter of the biography of Pujyashri Narasimha Swamiji, and the rest will be continued in the next chapter. Bow to Shri Sai. Peace be to all. Aum Sairam.